Okay, so I am co-director of the Masters in Psychological Science with Dr. Maeve Brosnan, and this is a one-year full-time taught master's program. It really focuses on developing a suite of clinical, applied, and research psychology skills. So it's a level 9 program that's comprised of 90 credits. And at a very minimum, so it's for psychology graduates. So you require a psychology degree with at least a 2-1. Many of the students who complete our master's program later go on to complete doctoral programs. So whether this is in clinical, counselling, educational, organisational, and so on, but also it's PhDs in research in specific areas are very popular also. It's a very competitive application process. So just to give, I suppose, an example, last year we had nearly 200 applications for 27 places. This year we have over 200 applications for less places. So it's really competitive. So for anyone with an offer, they're very hard to come by. It's one calendar year, so you start at the beginning of September, and the final thing to submit is the research project the following August. So it runs through the whole year. And it focuses on developing your skills as a psychologist, no matter what area of psychology you go on to become in terms of a professional perspective, and prepare you for the future professionally and also academically. So as part of the master's program, we have core modules which are non-optional, so everyone has to take them. So in semester 1, you have research skills and development, which I coordinate. And this is a module that really develops skills, both, I suppose, practical skills, but also develops your expertise as a researcher. And I think it's really important to mention that research is part of any area of psychology. So any of the clinical doctorates, for example, a research project is a big part of it. So no matter what area of psychology you go on to want to specialize in, you need to be very confident in terms of your research skills. We also have in semester 1 advanced research methods and statistics. So this focuses on quantitative and qualitative research skills and really developing your expertise in this area. And it's worth mentioning for anyone who is looking to brush up on their statistical skills before they start the program. We offer a summer class late August to all postgraduate thought students coming into the school. So if you feel like it's something you want to brush up on before the course begins, more detail is released on that. So Mary Boyle usually sends out an email later in the summer. Now, the next part of the programme is the research project. So this is comprised of 30 credits. It's a huge part of the programme. Every year we have a list of projects with academics from across the schools, so across a range of areas. So everything from clinical psychology, neuropsychology, educational psychology, the actual themes can vary a little bit year to year, and the focus and methodologies vary also, but the students have an opportunity to give their preferences in terms of what areas they want to focus on in terms of the research project, and that helps us align the student with the best suited supervisor. Now, on top of this is a choice of option module. So this is 4 modules across usually semester 1 and semester 2, even though we do have modules available in trimester 3 also. And this is just, I suppose, an example, an illustration of some of the modules available. These vary a little bit year on year, depending on new staff coming in or staff going on sabbatical and so on. But this gives an overview of the current types of modules that we offer. So there's a lot of diversity there, which hopefully means that everyone's areas of interest are captured. Just sample module overviews here. This is one of our current modules that focuses on developing counselling and clinical skills. So it's coordinated by a clinical psychologist and taught by clinical psychologists. And it really focuses on developing core skills within this professional area. Another example module for anyone who's interested in neuropsychology is a module coordinated by Professor Bramham that focuses on clinical cases in neuropsychology. It's another popular one. And this really focuses on developing expertise and understanding within the area of neuropsychology. And then we have the BPS Cert in Educational Testing module, which is another really applied module where the student gets partnered with an actual client, so another student within UCD, and works with them as part of this module to develop their applied psychological skills. So that's an overview of the module, and I look forward to taking your questions later.
Hi everyone, I might just check if the screen share is working okay.
Yeah, it's working. We can see it.
Brilliant, thanks. So hi everyone, my name is Dr. Alison Stapleton and I am an assistant professor within the UCD School of Psychology. And I'm here today to really wave the flag for our MSc in Disability programme, which is a one-year full-time programme that is developed for all who have an interest in disability, including people with disabilities, family members, as well as professionals. On screen at the moment, you have a picture of myself and also Associate Professor Christine Lenihan, and we are the co-directors of the MSc in Disability. So as I've said, it is a one-year full-time program that runs September to July. Students would typically complete modules in each trimester, usually a total of 3. It is a level 9 master's program and there are 90 credits associated with it. Typically, we would cover disability identity, intersectionality, policy and legislation, as well as more practice-based skills in research methodologies, as well as behavioural support and programme development. The MSc in Disability has a total of 6 core modules. Each of those core modules adds 10 credits towards the 90 credit overall requirement. These core modules include person-centered program development, applied research methods, advanced disability studies, multi-element behavior support, identity, sexuality and morality, as well as disability policy legislation. In addition to those core modules, students can then specialise in an area of their choice by selecting the remaining 30 credits from a range of options in areas such as education, social policy, law, healthcare, public health, and psychology. As previously mentioned, the options that are available will vary year to year, but there are some indicative modules that are currently listed on screen at the moment. And again, the requirement is to select up to 30 credits worth of the option modules. In terms of the eligibility criteria, we have them listed on screen at the moment. So a primary degree in any discipline with a minimum of a 2 classification. And there are also English language requirements for those who did not complete their degree in English or where English is not their primary language. In terms of the teaching staff, we have the MSc programme delivered by academics who are based in the UCD Centre for Disability Studies within the School of Psychology, as well as a range of guest contributors who have expertise in, a lived experience perspective, policy perspective, research, as well as applied practice. And this is a real strength of the programme because the specific disciplinary perspective and expertise of our contributors is a key component of that programme. So you go from a basic understanding of key issues to the actual practicalities of implementation in the real world. There is some flexibility to support the diversity in our learners. So, for example, we do have a graduate diploma, a professional certificate, as well as CPD options that you could look into if the 1 year MSc in disability is not suited to your schedule and needs. In terms of career opportunities, we can say that most of our graduates are employed in disability services, the disability sector, management policy, and also research positions. And typically, those can use these kinds of programs and the MSc in disability specifically to seek promotion within their particular sector. And many have actually continued on to doctoral level, particularly those who focused on research. On screen at the moment, I have some testimonials related to the MSc in disability, just attesting to the fact that this program has prepared them for research roles within the disability sector, as well as other roles in the health sector, like Health Promotion and Development Officer in particular. I won't dwell on this too long because we do have a current student who will be chatting a little bit more about their experience of the program. So if you'd like more information, I have the websites available on screen, and you'll also have access to them through the UCD website. So I'll just pass over now to Dr. Cooney.
So I am one of the co-directors of the Masters in Behavioural Neuroscience programme. We will be in our 5th year of the programme next year, and it's become quite a popular programme, particularly for students who are really interested in research. Oftentimes, the students will come into the programme who've really enjoyed some of the core modules in undergraduate psychology, like biological psychology or brain and behaviour or neuropsychology. And the programme is really there to facilitate the training of students to become really well-equipped researchers in this field. So Nuala Brady is also a co-director of the programme with me. So a photograph of her there, so you'll know her face. So it's a level 9 master's program. Like the rest of the programs, it has 90 credits. To kind of make an application, it's important that students have an undergraduate degree in psychology or an undergraduate degree in a very similar discipline. And an example of a similar discipline is neuroscience or cognitive science. We typically want students to have at least a 2-1 in that undergraduate degree. And most of the students, as I mentioned, will go on to pursue research in behavioural neuroscience postgraduately, maybe in doctorate degrees. It's 1 calendar year full time. And we're really focusing on that link between brain and behaviour, and how do we as experimental psychologists figure that out? What kind of techniques do we use or can we use to investigate the variety of phenomena within behavioural neuroscience? So yeah, we really look at the neural basis of behaviour. So we look at that with respect to things like functional models, or how the time course of, for example, cognition plays out in the brain, what regions of the brain are involved in what function. And we do that via classic techniques like psychophysics, but also more modern neuroimaging techniques like electroencephalography, TMS, TDCS. And we have a lovely eye tracking and VR lab as well, where you'll learn to use these techniques in one of our modules called Labs 1 and 2. So you get really hands-on experience in using these different techniques, and you'll kind of set up studies and get really good experience of actually using the equipment. The students tend to really enjoy those modules too. So the modules, there's 30 core modules. I teach on 2 of these modules. The first is Advanced Statistics and Data Analysis through OR. So this is using a statistical programming software to process your data from the very beginning of when you get it in, we collect that data all the way up to publication level. We also have modules in labs, as I mentioned, where you get to use those techniques. The module called Recent Papers in Behavioural Neuroscience that students attend, where they get to see faculty from the School of Psychology present their own research areas. So for example, this year we had Professor Ciara Green present on misinformation. And we had Keith Gaynor present on psychosis and Jude Beck present on her research in Parkinson's. So every year we tend to have different presenters, and you get to read their papers before attending and then really get a deep understanding of where they are at their research and what are the main questions that are being asked in the field at the moment. For option modules, we have a variety. Some of the really popular ones that I'll highlight tend to be the neuropsychology modules. So I think Michelle had already mentioned clinical cases. We also have fundamentals of neuropsychology, and then some neuroscience modules that are delivered over in the School of Neuroscience, such as higher cortical function and sensory neuroscience. And that's really getting into the more low-level processes in the brain that facilitate cognition. We have a wonderful module called Advanced Cognitive Psychology as well, given by Professor Ciara Green, as well as topics in psychological science. And Professor Klaus Kessler gives this really interesting module called Embodied and Social Cognitive Neuroscience, where it's really looking at how we aren't just these floating brains in a vat, we're actually an embodied species, and we need to think about our kind of experience of being and how it links to the body, not just the brain by itself. So our research dissertation is 30 credits. So from the very beginning, you will be assigned a supervisor or sometimes two supervisors and work on a particular project. You'll get a handbook from Mary before you start the program, and you'll specify your preferences. And we try and allocate at least one of your preferences to your supervision. The whole purpose of it is really to get you working on a project for an entire year, from kind of conception all the way up to publication. And you'll get the opportunity to publish that, hopefully, and co-author it. And this is really good for your CV or for no matter what you go on to do after the master's program. There are also funded projects available in that, where you can work as a research assistant and get a little bit of funding. If you're so lucky to get them. They're quite competitive to get. Speaking of competitive, the program is quite competitive to get on. We get about 150, 160 applications every year, and there are about 23 places. So it is quite competitive to get it. In terms of what people go on to do, so I've got a picture of Clara here. Clara was one of our first graduates, and she went on to do a wonderful PhD in the area of multiple sclerosis here in the School of Psychology, and she was fully funded by the Irish Research Council. Many of our graduates do go on to do PhDs in research. For example, Sarah Moran here is a current PhD student, a recent graduate of the program. She did her undergraduate degree in neuroscience, and then she's doing a PhD in psychology. But she also works with supervisors here in the School of Psychology at UCD. Declan, who graduated the year before last, is now doing a PhD in psychiatry in Trinity. We also have students who've gone on to work in enterprise. One student, Mark, from the year before last, works in a virtual reality company, testing models and virtual reality platforms. But in general, our students tend to go on to pursue research. So that's an overview of the program and an idea of what some of the students have gone on to do. And I'm looking forward to answering any of your questions.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody. It was great to hear more about the modules and also what some graduates have gone on to do as well. So next we're going to hear from Donal, who is a current student on the Master of Psychological Science. So Donal, do you want to tell us about your experience so far?
Yeah, so obviously I'm Donal, and I'm a student on the Master of Psychological Science, and I'm also the class rep for the course. So I kind of prepared some stuff I wanted to talk to you guys all about. So kind of like some good reasons why choosing this course would be good for you. Like if you haven't already kind of grasped, it's one of the top master's programs in the country. It has such a great selection of modules. Some of the most sought after ones would be the advanced research and stats, really improving your skills. The BPS in educational, that is just going to be able to boost you in a different way. Also, we've got like the clinical cases in neuropsychology, so you're going to be able to explore different areas that, because a lot of students are always interested in the neuropsychology. So like last year, I was completing my undergrad in DCU, and I wanted to progress into clinical psychology. and I was looking for a course, and this course like has such a strong output in like preparing students for assistant psychology positions to go on further into PhD research and to also get further on to the doctorates. Like some of the most like enjoyable aspects of the course would probably be related to like the module content. Also, like the freedom of like learning about it is you're given a lot of independence to do your own learning. Like you're provided with like lecturers who are just like experts in all their areas. But not only that, all the lecturers are all very keen to bring in like outside guest lecturers to speak to you. So you're really going to get like a really broad grasp of like different areas of psychology nearly every week. Like on the other side of it, you're going to have to your thesis for the year. And some of the benefits of that is that there's such a significantly wide variety of research topics. Like you're gonna with the school, there's an abundance of lecturers who are all gonna have like expertise in research areas, and you're gonna have like such a great selection of choice to always you're gonna find something that's gonna suit you. You're also given like such a nice level of independence and freedom to kind of express yourself in your research, to bring forth your own ideas, and you're also given such like great access to like academic staff and supervisors. And on top of that, as we said earlier, like there's a possibility of it going for a publication, which is also really good for going on for further education and boosting your CV. But being part of the course, like it doesn't just boil down to just like being a student. Some of the other best bits about just like being a part of UCD is UCD is like the largest campus in all of Ireland, so you'll definitely get your steps in. Like some of the best bits about like UCD, just from me, myself, and my friends in the course, is like you're kind of gonna get great access to. I think there's like 50 different clubs, 90 something different societies. So there's interests outside. You don't have to always just be stuck doing your course, which is always good. On top of that, you're going to given great access to resources like the James Joyce Library, and who are going to give you like lots of helpful benefits, especially when you're writing and going towards your qualitative and quantitative research. Some of the ways that like I felt like this course had kind of prepared me for my like next step in my career is like it really does set you up and prepare you to kind of go on to like some areas like assistant psychology. It really does significantly improve like your research skills, both qualitative and quantitatively. So there's a really got a good selection here. And then like for my advice for like any students who are like definitely considering this course is that like it's going to give you such a great avenue to be independent. And like the course is set up is like it's a step up from your undergrad, but that isn't a bad thing. That means that there's like also more opportunities to learn unique skills, research different interesting areas, and like to improve your knowledge. So for any students, just like remaining focused and always just trying to give that like extra effort will always help you towards this in this course. Thank you very much.
Donna, that was brilliant. It was covered everything. Oh, I have one question. Can you tell me some of the guest speakers that have come in? That's very interesting.
So some of the guest speakers, let's see, we've had, let's say, the principal clinical neuropsychologist come in from Beaumont Hospital, giving talks on, let's say, epilepsy and FND. We've had others come in from St. Vincent's, and they've spoken to us about like different areas, especially like specific cases for like maybe like older adults experiencing neurodegenerative conditions, and like really trying to understand like the psychology behind like what's going on for them, but also kind of like the case formulation of how you're actually going to treat them. So just two examples there, but like you're going to get
Yeah.
to have a real understanding of maybe like what an actual psychologist does, and maybe not so much. It's going to be a step up from just learning about theory. It's about putting it into practice.
Brilliant. That's great. Thanks so much, Donal. I think you might have to run back to class now. So if you do have to leave us, thank you very much.
Oh, it's okay. I've got a few moments for it, so I can help out.
Brilliant. Okay, thanks very much. And now we're going to hear from another current student. Hannah is currently doing the MSc in Disability Studies, so the program Alison spoke about. Hannah, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience so far?
Sure. My name's Hannah, and I'm on the Masters with Disability. And my background is I did the undergrad in UCD. I was looking to finish out, and I was looking toward educational psychology, looking toward that, and looking for a master's that would give me a bit of a broader understanding in disability. And when you're looking at the different programs, and one of the things that really sold me on the disability masters is that it has a really broad understanding. It provides you with everything from policy and how that's written, with actually getting to talk to guest speakers who are working in policy, who are working in politics, all the way through to the people who are on the coalface working in industry, working with directly supporting families, lived experience, the whole thing. And it really has been a great program. We're just wrapping up the second semester at the moment. And it's that breadth of experience that you get to see is what really just, it broadens your understanding. It gives you that opportunity to see the broad aspects, but then there's also the assignments. And Christine, especially in her modules, would say, Dr. Linden will say, I want you to take this time and I want you to dive into a topic that really interests you, that you can really channel that time into really learning the parts that really interest you and are where you'd like to see things happen. And I think that experience has really helped throughout the whole course. You're building on your understanding and you're getting that opportunity to see not only how, lived experience, which is really important, not only the supports that are there, but then actually getting to embrace the academic side of, what goes into policy? Why is that done, or why is that not done anymore? And I think that, just looking at disability in particular, there is a very quick change from what once was acceptable to what now is considered best standards, and understanding policy maybe doesn't move as fast as the understanding, but that policy needs to move, and understanding that whole process has been a really enjoyable experience. I think so. Yeah, a couple things that I've enjoyed in the course. One is the content. I've also enjoyed the diversity because the course is open to more than just psychology grads. You're sitting in a classroom with, in our course, we have international students, we have various backgrounds, we have people that are coming from academics, but we also have people that are coming in from lived experience. They're saying, yeah, but in the service I'm working in, this is what we do. So you've got that very lived experience, coalface understanding of what disability is looking like today, right out there, right now. And I think also just that ability the core modules are amazing. They really are. I think they've been some of my favorites, but the ability to customize it to your interests and forward planning means you can take a very solid course and then add the bits that you're like, that would be really interesting to follow up on. So for me, my interest lies toward educational psychology. So I've been able to take a couple of modules that really hone in on what's the experience for early childhood inclusion? How can that be different? And how can that be tweaked to make it more accessible to kids? We're looking at assessment. And how does that actually play out when you're looking at it from a disability and a different needs that are represented in a classroom? So that's been really fun. Another thing is the master's itself doesn't include an internship or a thesis, which you're like, that's a bit strange, but you really do have enough solid courses that you're actually building a network to connect with people from all across the spectrum of disability. And that's been it's been a really, really important connection time to make. You're looking at people you've had in your classroom that are then hiring, say, from the Universal Design Center, and looking at like opportunities to connect there. So you don't have a thesis, you're not looking at an internship, but you are looking at finding actual lived experience connections. Kind of like Donald said, it's a great campus. You gotta, you will get your steps in. I think at one point, I think it's probably a little longer now because they've extended the campus. It used to be 1 kilometer from top to bottom, or just shy of that. But there's everything on there. You've got 2 or 3 gyms on campus, you've got the pool, you've got the cinema, you've got everything going on. You also have a wide variety of food options. And the library, like, not to sound boring, the library is amazing. And there are specific areas that are taken and they're curated to the postgrads, which is really nice to have a space. It's got a slightly bigger desk or just a little bit more quiet if you're looking to study on campus. Going forward, I'm looking to go into ed psych, but for the moment, I have an opportunity to go connect with disability services that I've met through and have a better understanding of through my degree. We were asked if we had any advice for a prospective student coming in. I would say have fun with the course. It really is a fabulous time to sit in a classroom and debate and chat and understand a variety of aspects while everybody else is coming at it from, bringing their experience into that room. And it's a really cool experience to spend 3 or 4 hours sitting with people that you may not actually meet in life just generally. So it's been a really great experience, and do enjoy the time. It's a great course.
Thank you, Hannah. That was brilliant. A real flavor for the course, and really like delving deep into actually, the conversations and what you're doing, and you can really hear the enjoyment that you're having doing it. So that's great. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to now touch on very briefly just some of the career supports that we have in UCD. So it's kind of more general, I suppose, than if my slides will share, than everything else has spoken about. So, okay. So I know on this call today we have some people who, may have done their undergrad in UCD or, are based in Dublin or Ireland, but we also have people who are further away in Europe or in, further even than that in non-EU countries. So for everybody, doing a master's it's a big investment, financially and with your time. And a consideration is your employment after graduation. So for those of you that are not from Ireland or from an EU country, when you graduate from a master's program in Ireland, you have a stay back visa, and that's for 24 months, okay? And normally, hopefully if you want to stay in Ireland, then your employer will hopefully be in a position to sponsor you for a further few years. After 5 years, you can apply for permanent residency. And that 2-year stay back visa from graduation, that is included in the 5 years. So you have the 2 years sorted, you kind of have to get sponsored by your employer for 3 years, and then you can apply for a permanent residency. For everybody, UCD is ranked #1 for employability, and I think you can see in the modules and the way everybody was talking there, the guest speakers, the programs are really set up for that. It's not just the theory, it's really how you apply it to the real world and making those connections as well. UCD is also ranked in the top 100 for worldwide for employability, and there's something like 50,000 universities in the world, so being in the top 100, it's pretty good. The unemployment rate in Ireland is 4.6% at the moment, and if we compare that to the EU average, which is 5.1, we're in quite a good position. Now, you might all be totally sick of hearing about Dublin is the European Silicon Valley, etc., etc. The reality is Ireland is home to many multinationals in tech, pharma, medtech, AI, and financial services. This, does provide lots of job opportunities in those areas, but also there's a trickle-down effect. So, an environment for more successful SMEs and also across a wide range of sectors. It does increase, employability opportunities across the field. So big list of the multinationals there, but you might think, how does that, I want to be a psychologist or I want to work in disability. It does have a positive effect on all industries. So for those of you that do, accept your offer and come and join us in UCD, for everybody, I would really encourage you to register with the Careers Network. They do a great job in kind of with recruitment fairs, help with your CV, interview prep. It doesn't matter what stage you're at, how many jobs you've done and applied for, and how many interviews. Everybody could do with a little bit of professional help in that area as well. There's a jobs platform. They do career development modules and seminars, even one-to-one career appointments. They have alumni panel events as well, and lots of skills and careers workshops. So I would really encourage you to engage with them, follow them on social media, and connect with them. You'll see all the events coming up, and you can see what would work best for your plan. For anybody who is not from Ireland, there is a program called Jumpstart, and that's really for international students, for you to understand and be familiar with the Irish employment and recruitment market, just so you kind of understand how the process might work here and the kind of skills Irish employers look for. These things there's little nuances, they can change slightly from country to country. So it's just to give you that really good foundation to hit the ground running as well. And then I know a lot of the people already on our panel have spoken about what recent graduates have gone on to do, but some of the jobs that our graduates from psychology have gone on to, they've gone on to do doctoral training, worked in the clinical area, counseling, organizational psychology, medical and healthcare settings, public policy, disability services and policy, and Special Olympics. Some graduates from the MSc in disability studies have gone on to that. So that's just a kind of flavour of that. Some of our panel might have some more to add about the kind of graduate opportunities. I know that everybody kind of, a lot of people gave that a few examples, but is there anything else that any of our panel want to add about kind of what some of our graduates have gone on to do after graduation? If not, we can continue with our Q&A. Okay. All right, we have lots of questions. So thank you to everybody who asked a question when you registered. So I'll put these to the panel. So the first one is one of the first ones is, what options could a student have while studying a master's degree or a PhD while working? So I think it is like, is it possible to work while you're doing a master's degree? Maybe some of our students might be able to speak to that.
Yeah, like if you're really good with your time, you can like find ways to like work. I would say I wouldn't recommend full-time positions, but I know myself and a few others, uh, you can manage like part-time hours, but like considering it is like a full-time master's, you've got a lot of assignments, you got your lectures, your own thesis, you're gonna have a lot of commitments on top of a job. So it would definitely be come down to an aspect of your balance, but it is possible. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Donald. I think it's also worth mentioning that for any non-EU students, you have a work permit where you can work part-time, so it's up to 20 hours per week if you wish. There is also sometimes ad hoc employment on the campus, helping out at events and things like that. So there are kind of more opportunities like that as well. So it means you aren't committing to numerous hours, but here and there can be opportunities. Sarah has something to add.
I just add just from previous years, particularly if you're not coming from Ireland or the EU, it is possible definitely to have a part-time job, but I would not rely on that part-time job to be paying for your living expenses in Ireland. Ireland is quite an expensive country, and some students in the past have thought they might be able to work part-time to pay their rent and bills, and it really would be very, very challenging to do that.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Yeah, so it just wouldn't really be possible to do that. You really have to have, the funds to pay for your masters and pay for your accommodation really before you arrive. Anybody else have anything else to add to that, or should we go to the next question? Okay, we'll go to the next question. And how does registering for modules work? And are modules granted on a first come, first serve basis? Who wants to answer that? Maybe one of our current students who would have gone through the registering for modules. Hannah, do you want to take us through that?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. It is like your core registering for modules it's exciting in its own way, but your core modules you're definitely in on. So they're your ones you have to take. For your elective modules or your option modules, those usually are on a first come first basis. And as if you notice watching between the different programs, a lot of them are shared. So for some of them, they're very competitive to get into. It is just what happens with, but they do the best they can. And if there is say a module that you're really, really interested in, sometimes you can contact the professor teaching it and see if they has a space open up, because things do move. One thing I would say, just personal experience of modules, is pick your modules that are going to work with your schedule and make sure that it's workable for you. Because I know for some people that can be a bit of a struggle. It's like, oh, I really want to take that class, but it's like completely out of the rest of your schedule, and it can kind of make your class harder to get to if you've nothing else you're tying it to. But that would just be a personal tip. But that's how it works. There is competitive for the electives, but your core modules you're just automatically enrolled in.
Okay, that's good advice. So it would be kind of first come, first served. So be prepared and be organised to get what you want. Mary might have more to add to that. Thanks, Mary. Yeah.
During the registration process, students kind of delete modules and pick up different modules. So if you don't get your first choice at the beginning of the process, it is worth it to keep logging back on to see if there is something available, because spaces do get released into the system as people drop modules to take up other ones. So there's always a chance you'll get your first, if you think you haven't got your first preference, well, you may get it further along the line.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mary. So have one probably for Sarah. For students without a PSI or BPS accredited honours after finishing the MSc in behavioural neuroscience, is it possible to transition into a clinical PhD or PSYD in Ireland?
Yep, it's a great question. So just, I suppose, from the outset, I would say that the behavioral neuroscience program is not a direct route into clinical psychology. While many clinical psychologists do master's programs, particularly applied psychology programs, this program is really training more for the research area. I know you do need to have a PSI accredited psychology degree to become a clinician, though someone else might have more insight than I do about that. So you would need to get that accreditation in order to pursue clinical psychology.
Okay, great. So we have a few questions coming in here now. So some people are just asking how students can engage with a research publication. What opportunities are there for this, and how is it supported within the school? So who would like to take that about? Brilliant, thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, so the master's projects are designed so that you write them up in a journal article format. So you choose with your supervisor a journal that suits your topic, and you justify why the readership would match the topic that you're focusing on. It depends. So we've had students publish standalone journal articles, or publish in collaboration with maybe PhD students. But a lot of our students do publish. I think one thing to note though is that the publication process for a peer-reviewed journal is quite lengthy. So it can take, a year or so post masters to actually get a paper publication out there, which is why a lot of our students disseminate in other ways. So it might be posters at conferences and so on. And I guess we have a very research active department here. So supervisors are always very encouraging in terms of dissemination.
Great. I have another question that might be for you as well, Michelle. So for students aiming to apply for doctoral programs in clinical psychology after the Masters in Psychological Science, which optional courses would you most recommend for them to take?
Yeah, I guess you'd really go with what suits your particular interests and goals. Every student arrives with different academic experience, but then also different applied experience as well. So some students are looking to build upon maybe core clinical skills if they're going for the clinical doctorate, like that module I showed earlier. And other students, for example, if they have longer term plans for neuropsychology or for a specific area within clinical psychology, that might help them guide what particular modules they can choose as well. And also, might help them tie in with the kind of AP posts or RA posts that they might look to apply for afterwards.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. So that's actually all we have time for. So thank you very much to all our panel and for taking time to talk through their programs, and also for our students talking through their experience.